Good evening, everybody. I hope everybody's had a productive couple of weeks. We've been off from the podcast. I am currently making some adjustments. To uh I forgot to set this to 2 minutes, but hold on one second. I'm just making a few adjustments. I'm excited for this live that's going on, man. We got a lot of stuff to cover tonight. It's been a couple of weeks since we was on the podcast. I did a few street interviews in between. Hope that y'all been liking the content from the street interviews. I'm gonna definitely do some more. Definitely gonna do some more, and we're gonna continue to grow forward when it comes to everything because you just don't know what angle we're coming from when it comes to that. So let me go ahead and give you a chance for some people to come on. Hope everybody can hear me. Yep. We all good to go. Tell us where you from and where you're tuning in from. Just had to do this real quick. So, welcome back to Thursday Night with Pineapple. I'm your host, Mr. Pineapple. My name is Terrence Ramses, the CIO of Royal Blossom Company, also the co-host of the Thursday Night with Pineapple, also known as the Royal Blossom Podcast. And the mission of the Royal Blossom Company is to restore, build, create, to restore all the wealth and resources that have been lost in our communities, to build up the youth and children that are coming behind us, to create a unique commonwealth of like-minded entrepreneurs that build them in their God-given purpose and talents. And our brand values is to be fun, spirited, and passionate about everything that you do in God. So we got some few brand updates, man. Listen, we got some special promotions going on, man. Listen, everything off in the community, everything you see on the brand site, except for the pre-order breast cancer awareness and ovarian cancer awareness shirts. Everything is take an extra 30% off promo code to the end of this month, autumn 25. Okay, so orders over $100 or more, you'll get free shipping as well. So go ahead, get your orders in www.royalblossomcommunity.co, or what you can do, you can go ahead and you could scan this QR code right here. It's going to take you right to the website. Go right there, scan that QR code, go to the website. We got some amazing gear coming out. We're working on getting some things done for Fashion Week. So guess what, guys? This fashion week coming up, Orlando Fashion International Fashion Week coming up, we're gonna be sponsoring that event and possibly walking in that event as well. Also, we have this amazing, phenomenal breast cancer awareness tee. Yes, we'll be here tomorrow. So, ladies, that if you know anybody who survived breast cancer, you know somebody who passed away from breast cancer, you know somebody who's battling breast cancer, go ahead and get your order in. Today, we also got that special promotion going on. It's called Ebony 25. I had a nurse on here a couple of weeks ago. Phenomenal live that we did. So, what's unique about this design, I changed up a little bit because with fashion, you could take concepts and just reinvent them and make it your own. So, this is what I did with this. So, on the left, where you see Queen at, so I put that ribbon as a all white ribbon, which is one of the original colors of the breast cancer awareness month. That way you'll see people are battling. That one is for battling. I have the uh ivory ribbon tilted as the person that passed away, all our people who had passed away from this crazy disease. And then you got on the end, on the left, you got the green, meaning they survived or they're in remission. So this is something that I think is unique, that'll stand out a little bit. Why don't you go ahead and get your orders in? It's limited supply. It'll be here tomorrow. This price will go up to 40 once I receive it in hand, sometime tomorrow afternoon. So I would suggest you go ahead and get your orders in. If you know somebody that has breast cancer, or know people who want to support that type of movement, Also have the ovarian cancer one as well. It's a teal one. I didn't get a chance to put it in this live, but it's on the website. Go to the website once again, www.royalblossomcommunity.co. Scan this QR code, take you to the website. You can go ahead and pre-order yours today. Sizing going all the way up from 2X to 3X, somewhere around there. Go ahead and get your orders in based off of men's measurement charts. So go ahead and get your orders in today. So I'm gonna go ahead and start talking about also our private label. Private label, you're gonna start seeing a lot more information about our private label, which is Fashion Loft Silk Pay. So we're gonna go ahead and briefly talk about this because got a lot to cover about this phenomenal guest on here. So basically, the goal is to guide you in any profession that you want to do as far as fashion. If you need something small, something big, something large, we'll get it to you. I'm here to coach you and guide you from the east to the north to the west to the south. I'm here to guide you anywhere that you want to go on your fashion journey. And there's different packages, ones for students and young professionals, which is geared to like be hands-on with kids that don't have a lot of money to really invest into their fashion careers. We're gonna here at Fashion Law Silk Pay, we're gonna make sure that you get your lines and everything up and moving. So these are the prices, as you can see: East Wing, West Wing, $150, $300. So you'll get all these different types of things. We got the South Wing, North Wing. It's just a program that you go. So over like a year's period, it'll be $2,200, and we take payment arrangements or whatever. So you're gonna be able to get that content. It's more hands-on, and the students are really gonna benefit from this because it's really cost effective, and I get to show them what I did, the do's and don'ts. They'll get on an accelerated path to success. And that's the whole goal of what we're doing. So we also have the small business and family professionals. The only difference is the name and the price. So this is East Loft, West Loft, South Loft, North Loft. So the total cost for this program is $6,100. So if you need anything else outside of that, we also have private label services. So we have logo creation, t-shirt design. We got bulk production, custom language. We do hats, supplier contact. If you need a direct supplier contact, which is $300, I'll give you the contact. You got custom work shirts, uniforms. We got tech pack creation, basic store setup from 2 to 6 products, $200. Advanced store setup depends on complexity. Small production fee, $300, and we got other services. There's a lot of different things that I can do as far as like design and creation. I definitely can, have those services on there. So this just a brief uh, overview of what we do at Fashion Law Silk Pay. But without further ado, I had the pleasure of meeting this gentleman about a year ago. A year and years some change ago, man. We was talking at so many different events. I've been seeing him throughout the community, crushing these speaking engagements, man. He's a licensed therapist out here in Florida, and he's been doing some great things out here, man. I'm telling you, he's moving and shaking, bro, and I love it because he's really setting the example for young black men in the community. I want to show you what a healed black man look like. I want to show you what a healed black man look like in the community. What? That boy look like he healed. He look like he focused. He look like he got a little couple of dollars in the bank. Man, he out here escorting ladies to the ball. Like, listen, man, look. What happens when you chase your purpose, and what happens when you detox and let go of the past, let go of your past hurts, let go of a lot of different things that have traumatized you, you begin to really see the world from a different point of view. I want to play one more video. I think that really stands out to me as well. Hold on one second.
Another word or maybe a synonym for stress could also be responsibility. So think about that, right? Think about that. Responsibility, if I didn't have certain responsibilities, I wouldn't do certain things. But because I have those responsibilities serve as a motivator to accomplish whatever it is that I need to accomplish. My clients, when they come to my treatment center, or when they come to our treatment center, most times they are not they're not coming to my treatment center because things are going well in their lives. Let's put it that way. Most people that are going to come to a place, or even just to see me in general as a therapist, most people are coming to me because something's probably going wrong, right? Either the house is on fire or they're smelling a lot of smoke. So what that means is the stressful situation that they are in, the negative situation that they're in, is actually motivating them to make a positive change. So if they didn't have the addiction, if they weren't homeless, if they weren't, if their job wasn't in jeopardy, if their family relationships weren't in jeopardy, they probably would never come see me. But because of those stressors that exist in their lives, they come see me. So actually, stress can take negative situations and actually motivate us to do positive behaviors. You guys see that?
That boy ain't playing. That boy ain't playing. So let's go ahead and bring the legend on himself, Mr. D. Lou himself, Donald Lewis. What's up, baby? Welcome to part 2.
What's up, man? How you feeling, Terrence?
I'm doing good, man. How you doing today?
Oh man, I can't complain, bro. You know, it's always crazy. First of all, it's good to see you, man. And every time I watch my videos back, man, it just be like I can't even believe it really be me. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, look at this guy, man. Like, you know what I mean?
I said, yeah, man, but I see that. Look at you, man. You know, I think the community keep asking you why you keep cutting your hair and come with these different hairstyles. You know, I think, you know, the locks is, you know, people, you know, they take it personal. You know, nobody told you to do that, but that's a whole nother live. That's a whole nother live right there within itself. You know, that's a whole nother dispute. But we got to file some disputes over here first.
Yeah. Listen. The ladies are definitely a fan of the locks for sure.
Yep. And I'm trying to tell you, here go Denise in the chat. She say, "Hey."
What's up, Denise?
And then she said, "Man, Professor Lewis, Professor Lewis. You boy, Professor, boy, that boy be a teacher, he a college professor."
Man, no, listen. Don't listen to Denise, man. She be trying to heighten you up, man.
Yeah, they talking about lace fronts and stuff
she's
like
wilding.
that.
You see how she is? She's wilding.
You out here clowning in the chat already.
Yeah, man. The conversation just started, man.
Yeah, that's how we do over here at the Royal Blossom Podcast. They come over here and start clowning. They've been clowning in my chats. They be clowning a lot in my chats, man. I don't know why they do that, but it's all good.
I be seeing them.
Yes,
what's good with you though, bro?
So tell us a little bit. Those of you that don't know who you are, can you tell us a little bit about your background before we start getting in this session of healing?
For sure. My name is Donald Lewis. I'm a registered clinical social worker. I currently work in the capacity of substance abuse. I'm a clinical therapist at a substance abuse and alcohol treatment center. I've been practicing now for about 5 years. And so I kind of got into this field for two reasons. Number one, I just felt like representation was going to be important. Particularly for African Americans, and particularly African American men, and also just men in general. I thought that was going to be extremely important to have more representation of just men in these types of fields. And also, too, I always told myself that if I was ever going to do something for a living, that I wanted to be good at it. I'm very big on being the best and being the best that I can be. So I always felt like if I was going to do something for the rest of my life, which we all got to work for the rest of our lives, I wanted to do something that I felt like that I do naturally.
Okay. Yeah, man. So that's good stuff, man. Like I said to everybody, man, you've been doing so many speaking engagements throughout this last year since we've known each other, man. He's been moving and shaking, and he's at the Fort Harrison. He had a date with him too. Escort. I'm like, he got all kinds of footage. I couldn't pull up all that footage. He got a lot of footage, and he's looked like he's doing some stuff, man. I'm talking about the type of content that he posts is like it's eye catching. It's something that looks like I gotta be a part of that. I need to figure out what he's doing. See, I want to say this to all the fellas that's watching this podcast, the people that are gonna watch the replay with this. I want to say, when you let go of your traumas, your past, you let go of everything that's hurting you, that did hurt you. You let go of offenses, uh, learning the art of forgiveness, and letting God fight your battles and things like that, and going to get the help, going to see therapists over time, and changing your environment, change your friends, changing cities, just changing your mind. You begin to start to attract some amazing things into your life. It can be finance, better quality friends, relationships, um, you know, just all types of abundance, man. And I'm like, that's the stuff that we talk about, and when we talk about Black excellence. And looks like I want to be there. I want to be in that video. Like, I want to be there. But you got to work on your mind, body, and spirit first. And that's one of the things I wanted to ask you. What what makes you want to post motivational comments, like, not comments, posts like that as a therapist? What makes you post things like that?
Yeah, so I think, and that's a great question. I think that, for me personally, those are the types of things that really help me out. And my therapist actually told me that that I will attract people, um, that I will attract people that have the same kind of needs, if you will, as I do, right? And so for me, I know that my mind is the most dangerous place on earth for me, right? My mind can take me to some really dark places really, really quickly. And so constantly kind of having, motivational or inspirational types of conversations, or just, posts, stuff like that does a lot of good for me and my well-being, right? So I have to kind of work on staying positive. That's a chore for me. I'm just not naturally just positive that way, right?
Mhm.
And so that tends to be more of a chore for me, or at least I should say for my mental, right? A lot of times I can say positive things, but sometimes up in here and in my heart, I don't always believe them. So for me, it's about keeping it right in front of me. And I feel like a lot of people who that gravitate towards my content and the things that I do kind of need that constant reinforcement of encouragement as well.
That's good. That's good. So in your second video, responsibility. What does responsibility mean to you in therapy? What does that term mean to you in the therapy world?
Yeah. So, responsibility is just really being accountable of self, and being responsible for self. I'm a firm believer of you can't do the external work until you first do the internal work. And so when we talk about these conversations of being responsible, the first person that we got to look at is ourselves. How am I being responsible, or what role did I play in a situation? It's very easy to look at uh, external factors and blame those external factors for where we find ourselves or how our lives ended up, et cetera, et cetera. But the reality is, a lot of us have those choices have consequence, and we can't void ourselves. When we make choices, we can't divorce ourselves from the consequences that follow.
It's
So
true.
responsibility is first about me, then it is about everything else.
I think the first person you can hold accountable is yourself
Mm-hmm.
before you
Mm-hmm.
hold others accountable. I think, one of the biggest things in our community is holding other people accountable, but we can't hold ourselves accountable,
Mm-hmm.
and making sure that you responsible to your own standards and judging yourself to your own standards. And I think what it is, what's gonna bring me to the healing part, I'm gonna come back to that. He'll circle back around that healing part. But when you start talking about, just responsibility and how it affects you, and it makes and it's a part of your psyche, and where you can go for how you maneuver, it shapes your decision making, your responsibilities do, like you said in the video, it shapes what you do and how you behave and your stress levels. Sometimes you can turn like a bad situation into a positive.
For sure.
Men typically do that all the time.
Yeah,
Even when we going through stuff, we just try to problem solve out of that, out of that situation. And
for sure.
I would say therapy. What responsibility does the client have in healing themselves?
Yeah, so the client has the bulk of the responsibility, right? As a therapist, I am nothing more than a guide. I can't do the work for you. And so, really, the bulk of the responsibility, I'd probably say, 80, 90% of the responsibility when it comes to your individual change is going to be up to you. You know, you can lead a horse to the water, but you can't make him drink. And in the field that I'm currently in, I see that often, right? Where people are in the middle of these great opportunities to really be able to change their lives, change their families' lives, et cetera, et cetera. But because they're unwilling to do the work and they want the work done for them, then a lot of times they find themselves in the same places that they were, sometimes even worse before they even came in.
Give us an example of that.
Yeah. So when you look at the recidivism rate for clients who are living with an addiction is really high, right? So most people that are living with an addiction are going to relapse. Now, that's not just because that's a part of the process. It's really because a lot of times they're unwilling to do the work that it causes to change. So I always often tell clients, yes, a relapse is a part of recovery, but it doesn't have to be. Right? It's a part of recovery for sure, but it doesn't necessarily have to be, right? A lot of times the reason why it is because it takes us a little bit of time to get to a place where we realize or that we're willing to accept, hey, I need to change some things about me before some of these other things change.
How do you think a person should change themselves when they're going through therapy?
Yeah, well, I would say it first starts in your mind and in your spirit. And so, before change can occur, before change can occur, one of two things have to happen. Either A, you need to put yourself in environments where change can occur, or B, you have to want change. And so a lot of times, and then a lot of times it's really a combination of the two. So oftentimes I'll work with clients who want the change, right? They want the change, but they're unwilling to work for the change. So they might have the right kind of mindset, but they don't have the right environment. And then other times I'll have clients who are in the right environment, and then what needs to be worked on is their mindset. The good thing I often tell clients this: you can't think your way into positive behaviors, but you can behave your way into positive thinking.
Okay.
So a lot of times, I can't necessarily think my way into behaving better, but if I'm in the right environment, I can behave my way into more positive thinking.
I think the church say amen. They say amen.
Yeah, that's
Let
my
me
job.
ask you,
How to edit.
yes, yes, sir. Let me ask you another question. Now, I don't know if I don't think the therapist that I had on my podcast, I didn't get a chance to ask this question. It just dropped in my spirit. Now, how how does religious reviews affect therapy?
Oh yeah, they affect it a lot, right? So we often have these conversations, particularly in our communities, right? Because we weren't raised, many of us, I should say, we were not raised in environments where therapy was really was acceptable, right? So like for example, growing up, going to therapy, and me and you are about the same age, right? So we probably grew up in a lot of the same kind of cultural situations, right? So the idea of going to therapy wasn't really a thing. Even really the idea of going to doctors and stuff like that wasn't really a thing unless you really had something wrong with you. So the idea of going to get a checkup wasn't really something that we did. You went to the hospital if you needed to go, or if you went to the doctor when you needed to go, not for preventative measures. And so I think that religion can play a huge role in therapy because it can really kind of move you forward in therapy, or it can kind of push you back in therapy. That kind of goes back to like the mental and the spiritual aspect of the mental and the spiritual aspect of responsibility.
Hmm. Have you dealt with anybody that was atheist before?
Yeah, for sure.
How does that interaction go? Do they typically get better or do they typically get worse?
Yeah, so it just all depends. Sometimes I think I'll say it this way. Just because a person is atheist does not mean that they don't believe in anything, right? Or does not mean that they don't necessarily have a higher power. They may not be the higher power in the way in which we believe in it, but they can still have a higher power. They can believe in a higher self, right? And so I would say I don't really see any difference in terms of positive or negative when it comes to outcomes. Now, I have my
Okay,
own personal beliefs about spirituality. I think spirituality is important. I follow Christianity, those sorts of things. So those are my personal beliefs. But as a clinician, I have not seen, and that's just within my practice.
got you, got you. It's interesting because I always thought about that. How does person's background and what they practice in private? How does that affect their ability to overcome things? It's something very unique and abstract at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think what I think what it is too, like whatever a person's faith is, really determines how that much they can change the stuff, their circumstances around them too. As no matter if it's like Hinduism, Buddhism,
Mm-hmm.
Judaism,
Mm-hmm.
no matter if it's like EFI and all that other stuff, it don't make no difference. I think what happens is it's all about the mentality.
Mm-hmm.
Like for example, you always like back in the day. I remember us growing up, like in growing up in the black church, and we see a lot of people, tithes and offering,
Mm-hmm.
and like a lot of people did follow the rules, but a lot of people didn't follow the rules.
Mm-hmm.
So you be asking how all these evil, wealthy people get to the top, and how do they continue to have all this abundance? The reason why they continue to have the abundance because they follow the rules. It's a system that God puts in place.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically, it doesn't have no type of no race,
Mm-hmm.
no religion, all of that. It's just a system, and they follow the system. When you following that system, and you're putting into like charity, you giving more than 10%. You giving this. You understanding the rules of money, how they leverage money, making the money work for you. And a lot of times in the black church don't know how to do that. They understand the basics of the biblical principles, but they don't understand like what it means to go out here and start build generational wealth, build wealth for the church, give back, have the storehouse for it is building up 7 years, 8 years of wealth. That way, when there's like disasters like the pandemic, when the famine or some crazy event happen, you won't be bankrupt. You'll have money. You'll have enough. So they build this is about following the systems. The systems haven't changed. It's like comes from like the book, The Richest Man in Babylon. It's like an old book from
Great book.
it's a great book and it's in old English. I was teaching my son this the other day. It's in old English. Talks about having a purse. Talk about nickels, bronze, silver, gold. It's basically the same biblical principles. You take a little bit of your bronze coins. You put 10% of it. You pay yourself first. Take 10% of your money. You pay yourself. Take the other 10 to 15%. Give it to charity organization, or it could be a church. Any charitable organization doesn't necessarily have to be a church, but it just be a nonprofit organization. or whatever. Be an organization that that contributes to society, and then you take that 30%, pay your debts. You take that money and pay your bills, and then you have money for investments. So you have a diversified cash flow. Your money is just not sitting around. And I think a lot of people don't apply that to the therapy world too. It's like system. It's following the rules. There's rules to therapy that a lot of people think it's a system of rules that most people don't understand. About 80% of people don't see the outcomes because number one, they ain't honest. Like you said, they ain't honest. Like you said in your video, 30 days, they on quit, they done relapsed, they done gave up, they just stopped coming to sessions. Denise says this all the time. Start challenging their point of view, their perspective, holding them to what they say, holding them accountable. Me and Eddie talked about it. We talked about it on our live too. And it's just about perspective. And people just stop coming to therapy. And I had a conversation with somebody else in the community about that. I said, you've been in therapy since 23 or 24 or whatever. Like, it's about to be 2026. What we doing? And her therapist said, look, you've been BSing for about 6 months. What we doing? Stop scheduling me if you ain't gonna come.
True.
I asked her a question. I said, how much is your rent? Rent $1,500. If therapy sessions was $1,500, would you miss that therapy session? She was like, I don't know. You wouldn't miss that the $1,500 each session. You see if there was some skin in that game. If it's costing you, you'll take it more seriously. That's why I like a lot of like business seminars, like John Maxwell, Robert Kiyosaki, Les Brown. You got all those motivations from Myron Golden. They got all their programs. They be costing thousands of dollars because most people don't get past that part. It's only like 2 or 3 people that'll do it. It's the same thing with therapy. People who really sit down and really think, like, I'm really messed up. I got a problem and I need to fix it. Most people is like this. This is what I say. This is one of the things that I say. When I'm taking accountability, I say, you know what? I messed up. And in therapy, I got a problem. I need to fix it. And sometimes the sessions be a couple times a week, and some people just don't know how to be honest with themselves. So responsibility, I think most people. I want to get your perspective on this too. How do you feel about people that switch therapists frequently? They in and out of different therapists' office. How do you feel about that? Tell us your perspective, guys. We got some therapists on the line. I know they.
Yeah. So a lot of times, and first of all, you said a lot of good stuff there. One of the things, real quick, let me answer your question directly, and then I'll come back to it. A lot of times they're just whatever they're trying to avoid accountability, right? They don't want to look into the mirror. That's a lot of times that's really what's going on, right?
I don't like this therapy.
Yeah,
it's not there to be liked.
Exactly, right? We're there to help you, right? And sometimes that's a hard conversation because what can happen is sometimes you can build this kind of relationship where it almost feels like you guys are friends because they do. We're having a lot of very deep, very intimate conversations, and so the level of vulnerability is there. But it's also important to understand that I am not here to be your friend, right? I'm here to help you get better. And so that's really important. So I think a lot of times when you see people switching therapists repeatedly or just rapidly, a lot of times that's due to they're void of they don't want to face themselves yet. And don't get me wrong, I don't think every therapist is for everybody. So I'm definitely pro the idea of finding a therapist that works for you. But I'm also a fan of being with someone that's going to challenge you in the areas that you need to be challenged. Um, so I wanted to kind of piggyback on something else that you were talking about just in your previous segment there, right? So one of the things I think people have to understand about therapy principles is that they tend to be universal, right? So they're across. Now we might use different term and different terminology, But a lot of the principles and things, or a lot of the skills in which we're teaching our clients are found in the Bible. They're found in the Quran. They're found in right. They're universal skills and principles. So a lot of times, what you may also find too is, let's just say I'm dealing with somebody who is against going to therapy, but they're also spiritual. But a lot of times, I found, at least in my practice, is that they're not as devoted to their faith either. So that they might be devoted to their faith from the standpoint of, yeah, I believe in God, or I believe in this, that, or the third. But when it comes down to the actual application of their faith, they tend to fall short, right? Because as human beings, one of the things we have to understand is that our behavior patterns tend to be the same across the board, right? So if I lack discipline in one area, I'm going to tend to lack discipline in multiple areas. So if I'm not a practitioner of my faith, a lot of times I'm not going to be, if I'm not a practitioner of my faith, and faith is something that I really hold in high regard, then I'm not going to be a practitioner of my therapy.
Hmm. Hmm. True. Hmm. It's interesting. A lot of people are not disciplined. That key word, discipline. Um, Discipline is something huge that when you're going to therapy, you have to be extremely disciplined. If you really want change, it's a discipline, it's consistency
Mhm.
over time.
Mhm. And
Like,
I would say this is the same thing in any area of your life, right? If you confessing to be of whatever religion, right? The you're going to make your bones in the area of discipline, not in the area of motivation. And so it's about, do I take what I've learned on Sunday or Wednesday or Tuesday or Monday or whatever? Do I take that and do I apply that throughout the week? Because if I'm not applying it throughout the week, I'm no better off than when I went to that service. And the same is true for therapy. So I think when people look at therapy, one of the things they have to understand is it's no different than any other discipline in your life. If you're unwilling to do the work, then it's not going to yield any benefit.
mm. So I'm on. I know they ain't. I know spiritual. A lot of people may not be spiritual, but we gonna. I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna take it to two scriptures I'm looking at right now. I'm gonna take it to the book of Proverbs. Proverbs 11:14. Where there is no guidance, a
Mm-hmm,
people falls, but in abundance of counselors there is safety.
mm-hmm,
The second one, Proverbs 12:15. The way of the fool is right in his own eyes, but a wise man listens to advice.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Which kind of talks about something else that I want to harp on just really quickly. I think in society, one of our downfalls in society nowadays is our lack of mentorship,
Mhm.
right? Our lack of mentorship, our lack of internship, our lack of residency, our lack of whatever, right? Apprenticeship. I think nowadays we push this idea that everybody is a boss and everybody needs to be on their own and everybody needs to do their own thing. And I'm not opposed to that idea. I also think though that in order to get to a certain point, you need help and you need to learn from other people who've been there and done that. So when you look at any discipline, right, whether it be becoming a therapist, whether it be becoming a lawyer, whether it be becoming a doctor, whether it be becoming a nurse, whomever, you're tasked with doing some sort of internship, some sort of apprenticeship, some sort of residency. In other words, you need to work up under somebody who's been there and done that.
Mm.
And I think that nowadays that concept has been lost. And so I think because that concept is being lost, you have so many people who are jumping out here, starting businesses, getting into certain things, and they don't really honestly understand what they're doing because they have not been taught, right? Uh, a 40-hour YouTube course is not the same as 40 years of experience, right? Uh, 40 hours of education is not the same as 40 years of experience. And in life, what you need is not just the education, but more importantly than just the education. In life, what you need is the experience that complements the education.
To speak to your point, I'm looking at another scripture. This is going Proverbs 24:6. For for by wise guidance you can wage your war, and abundance of counselors there is victory.
Mm-hmm.
So communication, community, being on top of things, having the community around you, having people that'll hold you accountable, having people that are like minded around you,
Mm-hmm.
having people that'll call you out, people that you can talk to, when there's a dark period of your life, because we all have dark periods of our life, because life is like a roller coaster, it's up and down, and understanding where to go if you need help. Like you said, there's a lot of individuality in our community, and
Everything
that
going
needs
good.
to be toned down times 20. And we
Mm-hmm.
need to be more community oriented and
Mm-hmm.
go back to the original concept that we have. And Dr. Claude Anderson talks about that in his book Poweronomics, about how to build your economics, how to build your economic base, and it starts with, getting along with your community. It starts by healing, letting go of the past, stop being easy targets for easy things in our community, like getting rid of the stuff that other people are making profits off of, and just understanding, like, when you know thyself, you begin to change things. When you start to go at heal with inside. There's an ancient African proverb that says, if there is no enemy within, the enemy outside cannot do us no harm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So when you conquer all that foolishness inside,
Mm-hmm.
you nothing around you can't really affect you. That goes, and that applies to every aspect of your life when it comes to business relationships. It comes with friendships, romantic relationships, especially in romantic relationships. A lot of people, they battling the past. You battling with somebody else did. You in a fresh situation, and you battling something somebody else did,
Mm-hmm.
and you making that person pay the price and pay the cost for somebody else, whatever that man or woman did to you in the past. You still making a new person pay.
Yeah, I
It's,
like something that Kevin Samuel said, right? Kevin Samuel said that making money is a social activity, right? And so a lot of times, to your point, we have this idea of like, I can do this on my own, right? We all can fall into this.
I think you froze, big dog. Did I freeze or did he freeze?
And
Yeah,
you
yeah,
froze.
yeah. One of us froze. I was like, okay.
Yeah, yeah. No, what I was saying was that Kevin Samuel said that making money is a social activity, and so if you're
Yep.
going to be successful in any endeavor in life, you're going to need the help of other people. And so this hyper independence that we can fall into is really actually really harmful. Um, One of the biggest things that I've learned over the last few years or so, since I've been kind of doing podcasts and going to events and stuff like that, is understanding the importance of networking and knowing other people and getting help and advice from other people on how to do certain things. That has been extremely beneficial to my success, even at this level. And so this idea of I can do it by myself is just really just not. It's not a good way to think.
You can't. I don't know nobody who doesn't think by themselves. It take people. Money is people. You need people. Currency. You need people to do anything. Like, I can't build my clothing brand without people. I
Mhm.
can't build it. If it ain't on bodies, it don't make sense. I need people to manufacture. I design the clothes. I physically know how to do things, the cut and sew methods. I know all these different things, but I also need people that have embroidery machines, that people that can embroider. I need people that's gonna physically make my products. I don't do all of that, even though
Mhm.
I have the abilities to do that. I don't physically do all because I'm only focused on the design aspect, on like on my computer, on my sketch pad, pen
Mhm.
and paper. That's my response. That's the only responsibility that I want and should have at this point. with my knowledge. But you need people. You need systems. You need systems. When you have systems in place, you follow the system. Go back to what we said earlier. When you follow in systems, you'll be able to change things and you'll be able to build money. It's the same thing when it comes to anything else in life. You got to have systems, following systems. Same thing in romantic relationships. Y'all have a system put in place. When you in that system, everything flows. There's gonna be hiccups here and there, but the moment a person doesn't follow the system, and the moment a person's value system change, is the moment things change around here. That's the moment that things change. I think his phone went out, but the moment things change around you when you're not following the system, you want to make sure that you follow the systems and follow these trends, because you know why? When you do that, when you do these type of things, it becomes more profitable, and we all need each other. There's no way, nowhere on the planet where you see people saying, I don't need the people in my group. Everybody a part of a group. You need the people. You need people. We're not meant to do anything in this life alone, but most people, when they do things alone, they don't understand how to, you know, to get things done when they doing stuff alone. Because when you're doing things alone, that's where a lot of the mistakes come in too. And you don't have proper guidance and wisdom. And you also want to be around people that are smarter than you. And a lot of people don't realize that. They feel like I gotta be the smartest person. Well, I'm dumb and I don't. I'm just independent from this person. And especially that's a bad connotation amongst men and women in relationships and in the business world. I don't need nobody, but you need people to go to the next level. You need people to scale you to go to the next level. You need people, but you can't do it without letting go of the past. A lot of people who say that is a trauma response to what something that they've been through. So it's an interesting point of view.
Yeah, and I agree with you, right? So, we need people to scale us. We need people to help us to do the things that we do. And I think as long as we have this hyper independence, we're going to stay limited. I am at a place in my life where I am normally the brokest person in the rooms that I'm in, and I'm normally the least educated. I might be the most educated in terms of degrees, right? But in terms of whatever the conversation is, a lot of times I'm the least educated on that particular topic, right? Which gives me the opportunity to be able to learn and grow. And I don't
Hmm.
say that like I'm knocking myself. What I'm saying is, it's just important for me to be in rooms and spaces where I get the opportunity to grow and learn too.
Hmm. It's a good prayer too. Here's another one from Psalms 73:24. You guide me with your counsel, and afterward you receive me to your glory. So that's another good one. I think you froze again.
Yeah, I did for a second. I got the scripture with songs, but I didn't.
Yeah, so I'm gonna read it again. So it says Psalm 73:24 said, you guide me with your counsel, and afterward you receive me to your glory.
Mhm.
So, just all is a lot of things: seeking help, seeking glory, seeking him, seeking help around you. I mean, wise counsel. And there's so many things about, and oh man, I'm trying to tell you, like, when you do these things and say, when you're around people, a lot of people who talk the way they talk, they're not around. They haven't changed their environment. See, this
Mhm.
is another thing about therapy, and I want you to expound on what I'm saying. I want you to really expound on this. Like, let's say a person goes to therapy. They got a problem. They lost everything. They lose their mind. They lost everything, right? And they trying to recover from whatever happened to them, right? And they come to you, they talk about the problem, but the problem ain't getting better. But what they're doing outside of the therapy session, they haven't changed none of the stuff they're doing now. They haven't changed the people, places, and things. Problem is, a lot of people can't. Another major contributing factor, a lot of people can't get better. They don't want to change the people around them. They
Mhm.
want to take them everywhere they want to go. And I want you to expound on that, because a lot of people will not change. In order for you to really seek change, you really got to really change your lifestyle. And a lot of people don't want to change their lifestyle. They think, I'm going to continue to do the same things in my lifestyle. I'm not reading, I'm not removing myself. And you're not taking time to really reflect on what's going on. And I want you to really tell everybody, like, about how do you change friend groups and family groups around you to get the best results out of therapy.
So, and that's a great question. I think first and foremost, again, it kind of starts in that place of like want to. Some things we have to like seek out, right? And we have to get hungry for to actually seek out to receive. One of the things that we were kind of even talking about even before we got on here is the idea of the information is out there, right? The information is out there, and that truth is still found in books and stuff like that. Like the information is available. The question a lot of times is, are we going to do what it takes to actually get that information? And so, a lot of times you have to have that want and that desire for change, and that will help have you to kind of seek out different environments to be in. But in terms of how changing your environment can help you to grow and how it can help you in therapy, oh, it's critical. It's critical. You got to get around like-minded people. You got to get around people that can elevate you and that can push you forward and that can challenge you and that can make you think outside of your box and put pressure on you to be better and do better. I think about the people that are around me. They're always pushing me. They're always motivating me. They're always and not necessarily right? But because whatever, and I'm seeing the things that they're doing and the things, and I'm like, man, I want to be in those rooms, or man, I want to connect with those people, or man, I need to, and that's inspiring, it's inspirational, right? A lot of where I've gotten in life it comes from the help of other people. A lot of doors that have opened for me comes from the help of other people and being around the right kinds of people. I would also say this too. I think it is also an element of you got to believe in yourself. You have to believe in yourself. You have to have that because you can be in the right rooms around the right people, but if you don't believe in you and you're unwilling to kind of step outside of yourself, you'll just be in those right rooms. You'll just be around those right people, but you'll never truly get the benefits of it. And so I think there's something to be said also about having this certain level of confidence and belief in yourself. It's that old saying of like, if you're do it even if you're afraid, you know. And for me, like I don't personally like to do a whole lot of like speaking. I like to kind of be in a room and just kind of be quiet and just observe. But there are times where I will intentionally be in these rooms and say, you gotta meet somebody. You gotta. That doesn't necessarily work that way in real life, right? Very few people are really going to do that to kind of make your presence on. You have to command that room, right? And so I think there's also an element of not just I want to change, not just I need to be in the right environments, but I also need to believe in myself that change is possible.
See, that's true. I mean, everything you hit right on the nail, because a lot of times too, man, people don't understand growth is uncomfortable,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's spiritually, mentally, psychologically, physically, all that, emotionally, all of that growth is not comfortable.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's not comfortable.
It's called growing pains for a reason.
No pain, no gain.
Mm-hmm.
Les Brown said it will come like you can't. It's all to say. This thing he said. Richard. No, not Richard. Richard. I think it was. Hold on. What's that guy name? Peter Dreckle. He said Peter Dreckle calls pain unavoidable suffering,
Mm-hmm.
and pain is just like you go duck under a bridge. It's gonna come find you. It's gonna come everywhere you at.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's gonna come everywhere you at. You can't avoid it, bro.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, you just gotta deal with the pain. That's one of the things when I see people that say they ain't therapy and they ain't therapy for these long periods of time, I said, you talking about on these little healing journeys, especially older people. I say, listen, you is not serious. You is not serious about healing yourself because you don't want to really face them pains because you're gonna have to reach back to them those triggers and traumas, whatever happened to you. You never matured past that age. That's your psychological age. Whatever that trauma at, that's your psychological age. And all the therapists on this live will tell you the same thing. I'm not a therapist. I advocate as one, but I am not a therapist. But I know that for sure because you got to really reach back into those dark places, and it's painful. It's uncomfortable. You don't like it. You don't want to revisit it. But that's where your deliverance is. That's where your healing is. That's where your abundance is. That's where your testimony is. That's where your story is from. That's where God is trying to mold and shape you into the God-given purpose and talent that you are. That's where the Lord is trying to tell you somebody need to hear your testimony, but you decide to be disobedient because you don't like the way it felt. You won't get over the traumas and tribulations because of the way it made you feel, but somebody needs to be delivered. They need to hear your story so they can get delivered, so they can overcome that. Because of your selfishness, everybody around you suffers because you have triggers, you have traumas, you have things that you can't get over. So everybody got to walk on eggshells with you because you're easily offended because you didn't do the work. What you're going to do is Crimson Cure said this very profound. Eventually, you're gonna wear your support system out.
Yep.
You're gonna wear everybody out because it's but so long people are gonna endure that path. Oh, he just going through this. I'm like, that happened 10 years ago. You still going? You still doing this? This happened 15 years ago. This happened 20 years ago. This happened. There's no statute of limitation. Let me make this clear, everybody. There is no statute of limitations on a healing journey. But however, there needs to be progress. There needs to be you need to put a date on that though. When is this gonna stop? I need to put a date on this because I got stuff to do. Because all you doing, you sit here dwelling on this and dwelling on all you doing is wasting time. Next year gonna be here. Next year gonna be here. Next thing you know, 15 years, another 15 years done went by. You still ain't overcome that. I was just talking to one of my childhood friends today. We was talking about a family member back up north. Like this dude holding grudges with people in the community. There's a lot of people in my hometown don't even like him no more. He's a relative of mine, and he talking about stuff that happened in 2002, 2003. That happened in high school. Like you holding grudges about girls and females and how somebody wronged you, bro. Have that bro. We in 2025 going into 2020. We in fourth quarter going into 2026. And we're still talking about that. We was talking about that on this live last week. I'm like, man, that's diabolical. You still be holding grudges, and people do it because I held grudges for some time. I ain't gonna lie, I did too, but I had to get delivered. There's certain things I let go depending on how close they was to me. Usually it's the closest people that had the most offense, but overall, like people I don't know that well, had a conversation, let it go, move on through that. Like, but if it's like somebody I know for years and they did that, I'm like, I used to hold grudge. I tell people on these lives, I used to be the grudge king, but I'm like, nah, I ain't holding no more grudges because I'm like, because what it's doing, you holding on to all these rocks in your hand. God trying to drop a blessing in your hand, but your hands are full. Your spirit is full. Your mind is full. You can't receive anything because you got all this stuff holding on to it. And the same thing when it comes to relationships. The same thing. You can't get delivered because you don't want to let that stuff go. And it don't
Yeah,
serve
I
you.
often tell my clients.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, yeah, I often tell my clients that a reason at 13 sounds a lot like an excuse at 33. Yeah.
You need to put. We're gonna make a quote flyer with you later.
Yeah, no, yeah. So when we're having these conversations, right? I often tell them, yeah, a reason at 13 sounds a lot like an excuse at 33. And so, we have to start to move past some of these um, thoughts and feelings and all of these, and all this unforgiveness that it kind of revolves around the idea of the only person that's holding us back is us. And so um, we got to move past it. And I would also say this too, and I know I actually, but I'll also say this too. I think not only do we need to forgive on an individual level, I think we also need to start working on forgiveness and resentments from as a culture as well. You know, there's been a lot of
Yep.
things said and done within our community, between us as African Americans, and then also just from the world as a whole, to where there's a lot of resentment and unforgiveness that goes on within our own community. And I think that we need to move past those things. And then also with other communities, we need to move past those things. And because at the end of the day, the only people that it's really affecting is those that are still holding on to those grudges. Everybody else is moving on. Everybody else,
Pause for a
we're the
second.
ones that are holding on to certain things, and that's just not good.
Yeah, that's true, man. And we're gonna wrap this up. We might have to do a part 3 because
Yeah,
this conversation is key. We gotta continue this conversation.
for sure, for sure.
Yeah, man. Look, now I would say this, but to piggyback off of what you said, man, it's like a lot of people are moving on and getting themselves together. When you holding grudges, like holding grudges really hurt you, doesn't hurt the other person. That person probably done moved on. I ain't even thinking about that. And I will tell you this. I want to say this from a communal point of view too. Like when we're trying to build up our youth, one of the visions of my business. Okay, when we're talking about talking about the future, our children are the future. I know we're still young, we're still part of the future too, but our children that are coming behind us, and we're still talking about slavery and what happened, and we talking about Black history. Ain't nothing wrong with talking about that. But when we sit there, if you talk to some of the older people in the community, still talking about like how they was impacted, but they're not talking about how we're gonna move forward, how we gonna get these things done, how we gonna build pour into the youth, how we gonna adapt to what happened. I'm like, yeah, it happened. We
Mm-hmm.
can't change it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's not gonna change my point of view. I mean, I don't have that point of view as where like, I'm gonna isolate people because of the color of their skin. I don't have that type of prejudice. I
Right,
judge people based off of the content of their character,
for sure.
not the color of their skin. I'm like, if you do good business, you do good business. Of course, the preference is going to be Black first. But if this person does you Black and you don't do good business, and this person is this color and they do great business, I'm gonna go with the person who do great business because
For
that's a
sure.
reflection of your business. But
Right.
at the same time too, like you gotta understand too, let that stuff go and build forward. Let's pour. Let's not focus on the past. Let's not focus on like stuff that happened in civil rights. Yeah, remind ourselves everyone now and again, keep a reminder, but let's pour into our children. Let's enlighten, let's give them the tools that we didn't have. Let's pour into their programs. Let's support them. Let's have those after school programs. Let's support them at their games. Let's go to their games and cheer them on. Let's be at their college graduations. Let's support them in their whatever their vision is. Let's support their artists. Let's support their music programs. Let's support all the stuff that they used to do. Let's support them going outside. Let's listen to their point of view, not
Right.
our point of view, their point of view, what they want to do,
For
and
sure.
pour into them and make sure they get to the next level. Give them the tools that we don't, not cripple them, give them the tools.
Mm-hmm.
Don't just push your kids out at 18. I'm going to go on a little rant now. I'm going to say it. All our elders used to do that and used to say that to us. I kind of resent that statement a lot because no, I actually resent. I'm gonna be honest. I resent that statement. Talking about your parenting stop at 18. No, your parenting is your responsibility for the rest of your life, and your kids don't shit be out your house at 18. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people may disagree with that, but I do not. Especially your boys. Sending your boys out there with no tools, don't know how. He's still a kid. In our communities, we don't look at it like that. They still children. They're still children. You gotta guide them, mold them, shape them, prepare them for life. Give them teaching them about money, teaching them about things, teaching them about spirituality, teaching them about sex, teaching. It takes time, especially with boys. You taking your time, you teaching them about giving them the skill set instead of just sending them out. Oh, I'm 18. That's it. College graduate. I did my job. I'm going to live my best life. That's not how that works. You still got a young adult to really guide.
Yeah.
Instead of being us fathers, we understand that. Fathers understand you go from authoritarian to counsel.
Mhm.
So you're not counseling your children. You just sending them out there and just letting them figure it out. Of course, there's gonna be kids that's all hard headed, and sometimes you gotta let life beat them up a little bit. But at the same time, you gotta guide your kids and help your kids in their adult years too.
Yeah.
And that's what's missing in our Black community. Just a major component, especially when your children get grown. You just
Yeah.
don't guide them. Going about your day, you ready to go live your best life because you was irresponsible in your youth, so you want to go travel, spend money. That's not That's not how I can. Because you look at other communities, like their children, they don't leave home till they get married. They stay right at the house. They be 25, 30, because they building wealth, building economics. They going to school, getting their education. They building a business. They're working on the family business. And we gotta start with that family. We gotta start with our business in the community. Family business.
Yeah.
Black woman, getting in your family business, talking about you ain't gonna help your man with his vision. You go help that man with his vision. Stop telling him you want a finished product. Help that man with his vision. Help Donald with his vision in therapy. Help Mr. Pineapple with his vision in therapy. Help him.
Yeah.
Don't you see the East Indian woman with the East Indian man? You see the Asian woman with the Asian man. You see the Pakistani with the Pakistani man. You see every group working. We can't get it together in our community. That's why we can't build that, because we ain't got no community. That's economics. That's the foundational component to change everything else around us. That's when you start talking about politics, you start talking about all the gentrification. There's so many different ways we can go about that, but I'm not going to get too deep in that. But I'm just saying that community, the foundation, community, getting the help, healing. That's the purpose of this life. Healing, 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 seeking the help, going to the therapist, going to see Donald if you got substance abuse problem, going to see Denise if you have a trauma response, going to see Ed, going to see his wife, going to see these people that can really help you change your traumas. But you have to do the work. Once you start to heal, you begin to change you change your whole outlook, your whole perspective on things. You start looking at things from a different point of view. Your perspective changes. Like, dang, I could did this better, but yeah, this molded, shaped me. I see where this comes from. Now I can use that as part of my testimony. I can use that to build from
Yeah.
instead of
Yeah.
living
And
every day.
the last thing I'll say on that, what you just said, 'cause I think you said everything. But the last thing I just want to kind of piggyback off of is understanding that, the Black struggle has often been utilized to gain wealth by
Yep.
other blacks, by other blacks and other people of other communities. And so I'll say this: we just want to make sure that in our pain, we're also not being pawns, right? Um, and so we just want to be careful that we are not allowing people um, to control us emotionally when it comes to
Yep.
certain things. So again, I think it's important for us to understand that historically the Black struggle has been profitable, and so we want to make sure that in these conversations that we are not allowing monetized, right? That we're actually understanding all of these things that are going on, and like you said, right, to move forward, because moving forward is particularly important to ourselves and our communities. And I think the more we learn how to work together, the more we'll be able to build our communities. I'll say this too, that in order to have a community, or in order to have a society, it has to first start with me. And so I think that we do ourselves a disservice also by being hyper focused on the community without being hyper focused to ourselves, because it is me that in turn adds value to the community. And if I add value to the community, and Terrence adds value to the community, and this person adds value to the community, and that person adds value to the community, now we have a strong community.
That's
And
true.
so,
That's true.
even in the scope of being communal, we also have to understand that there is some individuality that comes into play there as well.
That's true. And the comments are good. These comments are good from
Yeah, I've been
everybody.
seeing
He
it.
said,
Yeah.
we never stop parenting. Latoya said something good. They wanted already built instead of helping them build. And Denise wanted you to explain this, and then we're gonna wrap up. I don't know if you can read it.
Yeah, I see. Support versus building a man just so that a woman. So, oh, okay. Support versus building a man. Yeah. So when we say support, right? How I look at it is, a woman is to be a helpmeet to a man, right? But in order for a woman to be a helpmeet to a man, that means that that man has to first have a vision, right? And that vision needs to be clear. And he needs to understand that vision. He needs to understand that purpose. And it has to be clear because in order to communicate it, he has to be able to have it clear himself. A lot of times, I think where we as men are going wrong is we have visions, but the visions aren't clear. And so
Yep.
we're trying to communicate something that we don't quite understand within ourselves. And so sometimes what we might need to do, take a little bit of time, understand what's my purpose, what's my mission, what's my goal. And then once I understand it and once I can communicate with that with myself, then I can communicate that with others. Right. When it comes to building a man, I think that's where, we're literally doing that. Right. We're trying to make him into something that he is not already. And I think that's very dangerous for women. I also think I think that's dangerous for women. I also think that's very dangerous for men, right? As men, we have to be careful that we don't get into projects as well, right? And trying to build and create women and to be something that we want them to be, right? I've been seeing, I see this meme all the time, right? It says something like, "There are men that will, well, guys, there are women that will." So, I think those things are equally important on both ends.
All right. Sounds good. Tell them how to find you if they need some therapy.
Absolutely. So you can follow me on Instagram, Donald_Lewis 863. You can follow me also on Facebook, Donald Lewis. And I think that is all of my socials that I'm really on like that. So follow me on one of those two social medias. Again, Pineapple, thank you for having me, bro. It's always a pleasure talking to you. We got to do part 3, man, and we got to talk about let them inside.
I think you, man, your
We've been talking
Wi-Fi.
about before we
What happened? What did
no,
you
I was
say?
saying we gotta let them talk. We gotta let them hear some of the conversations, the behind the scenes conversations a little bit. Maybe next time we'll let them.
Yeah, man, we gotta do it in person. How about we do it in person next time?
Yeah, yeah. Let's do it in person
Give them
next time.
some clips behind the scenes or whatever, but they gonna be like, man, we gotta tune into this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Give them
yeah.
some behind the
Let's
scenes.
do it, man.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me again, bro.
Absolutely, no problem. So everybody, this has been a phenomenal show. Once again, we're gonna have another phenomenal guest next Thursday at 7:30. My famous quote: "You just don't know which angle we're gonna come from with this podcast." And I'm gonna close out with this final thought. I'm gonna do with my famous quote: "Once you discover how unique you are, you begin to change the world around you." Mr. Pineapple. Till next week. We'll see you later.